PSG set Mbappe deadline. Manchester City still want Grealish. England's World Cup hopes dashed. Your chance to win Chelsea tickets and a transfer roundup all coming up in the next few minutes. As I'm your host, Matt Froelich, you are the One Footballers, and this is the Daily News. So first up, PSG have set a deadline of around the next 2 weeks to sign a new deal with Kylian Mbappe. Their 22-year-old French star runs out of contract next summer, and of course, they don't want to lose him on a free. That would be an absolute nightmare, especially considering they could probably still make around 100 to 150 million euros for him this summer. That is an enormous amount of money, and unbelievably, it's probably not what Mbappe's fully worth. If he had a contract that was running out in a few years' time, you look at the fact he's 22 years old, he's obviously a ridiculously talented footballer, could probably have his pick of any club in Europe, PSG may be willing to charge around 200 or more million for him, but because they've only got 1 year left, they're going to have to lower their price just a little bit, but of course it's still an extortionate amount of money. As for Mbappe, his dream looks as though it's always going to take him to Real Madrid, but at the moment it doesn't quite look like the Bernabeu side have their finances in order to be able to pay that kind of money. So maybe they'll sort of tell him, but not directly tell him because they can't approach him just yet, that if he holds on for 1 more year, they'll bring him in on a free next summer. Of course, that is going to suit Real Madrid because they won't have to pay a fee, and it also is going to suit Kylian Mbappe. Not because he has to spend 1 more year in Paris, but because they're not going to be paying any money for him, he could probably go ahead and charge a ridiculous wage. I'm talking like 6-7 year deal, maybe 800,000-900,000 euros per week. Anything is possible. We're talking about one of the best players in the world moving to one of the biggest clubs and they didn't have to pay a transfer fee for him. Anyway, that's potentially what's happening next summer. If they're going to make a move for him this summer, they're going to need to sell quite a few players first if they're to go ahead and scramble all of their coins together to go ahead and pay for, let's be honest, the best young player in the world. On the flip side of this though, he could actually be staying at PSG because, well, they're putting together quite an interesting project. And I know the word project's always been thrown around with PSG, like this is the new project, Neymar's joining the project, Neymar and Mbappe are the new project, but they're actually making some very good signings. Like if you look at Gigi Donnarumma, young, incredible player, who's going to be there for the next few years at least. The same thing can be said with Hakimi. Yes, maybe not the same with Gino Wijnaldum, but they're looking at other younger players in the transfer market as well. This would let you know, along with Mauricio Pochettino, more of a project manager, would say to potential signings that PSG are in it for the long haul and they're not just putting a team of superstars together now to try and win the Champions League and then pretty much shut up shop and go back into oblivion. No. PSG are looking for European domination on the footballing scene for the long term, and holding on to Kylian Mbappe will help them with just that. And talking about dominating European football, well, that's also been part of the plan for Manchester City, but it hasn't exactly worked in the last few years because they haven't managed to bring home a Champions League title. Now, yes, they did make it to the final, but Chelsea managed to beat them back in May, and Pep Guardiola's side will be looking to add some new recruits, and one of them is apparently Jack Grealish. There's been loads of talk about it, but according to the Athletic's Sam Lee, they are closer than ever to bring in the Aston Villa captain, and it's going to cost them quite a bit of money. That hasn't exactly put Manchester City off in the past. Having said that, if they are going to spend the reported 80 to 100 million on the England player, then that is actually going to break their transfer record. When it comes to wages though, they'll be able to double, triple whatever he's earning at Aston Villa, so that'll be pretty good for his pocket as well. Having said that though, the reason that I think this may happen is because Aston Villa have shown an active movement in the transfer market when it comes to replacing Grealish, and that is with all of their interest in Arsenal's Emile Smith-Rowe. On the face of it, you'd think, why would someone leave Arsenal? Someone who's highly tipped to Arsenal, who's playing a lot of games, and move to Aston Villa? Well, because they're going to offer a ridiculous amount of money. £55 million was the amount quoted in the papers the other day, and although I think that's an insane amount of money, it kind of makes sense if Villa are to get rid of Grealish, because if they buy Emile Smith-Rowe for 55 million and sell Grealish for whatever, 80, 85, 90, they're still going to have a ridiculous amount of profit left. The problem is, of course, Arsenal don't really want to sell because he's a very exciting youngster and potentially could run this Arsenal midfield for the next few years. So much so that Mikel Arteta and his team are sitting down to offer Emile Smith-Rowe a brand new contract to keep him at the Emirates for a little bit longer. I've no doubt he'll be brilliant for Arsenal. I've no doubt he'll be brilliant for Aston Villa if somehow he made the move there. But of all of these transfers, it does look like Grealish's to Man City may be a little bit more likely. Moving on then, and to the World Cup hopes that England have. Well, the hopes they have of hosting the World Cup in 2030 alongside Ireland, and well, failure to control a load of fans on Sunday at Wembley means that things aren't looking too good for their bid. Next year, UEFA are going to put forward one candidate to FIFA for hosting the World Cup in 9 years' time. there are two potential candidates, two potential joint bids coming from Europe. The first one is England and Ireland. The second one is Spain and Portugal. And after all that nonsense on Sunday where, they failed to control some of the fans, they didn't have tickets, they somehow made it into the stadium, and all the other general nonsense that was going on with quite a lot of England fans, to be said, it looks as though Spain and Portugal may have jumped ahead of them as to who UEFA are going to prefer and put forward next year. Of course, there's still a lot of time for both countries and both bids to sort out whatever issues they've got going on and to put on a brilliant spectacle in 2030, but that's not quite how it works. They don't have that time because the decision is being made next year. Maybe all of this nonsense that the England fans were doing outside the stadium and across the country didn't exactly affect the players on the pitch, but it has affected their reputation, and then this could affect whether or not they get selected to be put forward for the World Cup. Next up, and I know a lot of you are very, very excited already for the upcoming Premier League season, and to celebrate, Trivago and Chelsea have teamed up to offer OneFootballers in the UK the chance to win a VIP matchday experience in London. The prize includes hospitality tickets on a match day, a private tour of Stamford Bridge, a meet and greet, and so much more. It's easy to enter, just make sure you click on that link down below and follow the competition rules, and you've got until 11:59 PM GMT on the 28th of July to enter. As said, for now, it's just for our UK audience, but make sure you stay tuned because there'll be loads more opportunities coming up thanks to our partnership with Trivago and Chelsea. Finally then, a quick roundup of the rest of the day's transfer news that you might have missed. And Jose Sarr has completed his move to Wolves from Olympiacos to replace outgoing goalkeeper Rui Patricio. He has joined Roma, and in fact the Roma captain Lorenzo Pellegrini is the subject of interest from Tottenham, but they'll have to pay the €26 million buyout clause if they want to sign the midfielder. Elsewhere, Brahim Diaz has completed a permanent move from AC Milan to Real Madrid. First off, it's going to be a loan, then a permanent deal, and Real Madrid have a €27 million buyback clause. And lastly but not least, for the second time in the last 2 years, Iron Robin has officially retired. So that's all from me for today. Why don't you check out everything else we've got going on OneFootball? But until next time, have a great weekend without any football, unfortunately, but I will see you guys later.